the Podfix Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 182 of the Filmmakers podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. I'm a writer, director and producer.
And I'm Marie McCain, director, producer.
And this episode is sponsored by Screencraft, more of which very soon. This episode is with the fantastic Sarah Gavron. Now, not only has she directed amazing movies such as Brick Lane, A Village at the End of the World, Suffragette, but she's also directed a brand new movie called Rocks, which is out on Friday, September the 18th. And she, the wonderful lady, is on our podcast in your ear holes just for you, talking about how to make movies. First of all, though, Robbie, how are you, buddy? You all right?
I'm not too bad, Giles. Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Good, because everyone wants to know. That's what they tune into this podcast for. How's Robbie? Oh, he's okay.
Yeah,
how's
absolutely,
Giles?
100%
okay?
the audience, yeah.
Imagine if we just went, nah, do you know what? I'm feeling a bit shit. Feeling down. And do you know what? It would be fair enough. It was World Mental Health Week and it was Men's Mental Health Day as well. And it's so important that we all look out for each other and try and support each other in any way we can, because we're all filmmakers and we all find it very difficult. Well, most of us who listen to this are filmmakers. If not, you're a film fan and you understand that it's very difficult, especially during lockdown. So we're here for you, is what I'm saying. I'm here for you, Robbie.
Thank you, Giles. That's very comforting.
Good. Is it? Is it really? Like a warm blanket.
Well, you could go get me some milk from up the shops, maybe. Yeah.
Some wait, vegan milk? Is it organic? What
Oat milk. We'll go for oat milk.
Oat milk, and we'll warm it up on a nice temperature. And I'll tuck you in bed and I'll serve it with some vegan cocoa. Yeah?
It's getting a bit creepy now. Yeah.
So, today we're not here to talk about myself and Robbie's weird habits. We're here to talk about the episode with Sarah Gavron. It's amazing. She's so cool. Robbie, what did you take away from this? What are the listeners, the wonderful people out there listening who are probably skipping this bit now, what are they going to take away from this episode?
Yeah, Sarah was really awesome. She was talking about filming her new movie Rocks, which is she's working with mostly younger, like non-actors, and she was really trying to get a sort of authentic look for making a film about young people today, and her talking about all the different methods she used to do that, like from working with a predominantly female crew to working in a slightly informal, more documentary style. Like, it was really awesome. Yeah.
So he was talking about prep, how she researches, what visual ideas she has, whether that's from photography or from paintings or sketches. You know, it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, those different examples of inspiration that can come from really unexpected places. That's what she was talking about. And also she was talking about directors that she admires and, you know, how she takes inspiration from them, which was really awesome. Really awesome.
And what I find is even more awesome, more awesomeness, have more awesomeness.
Which is a word.
More awesome. It's 100% a word. Was that when she was talking about Suffragette, she talked about working with fantastic screenwriter Abby Morgan. But more than that, she talked about what it was like working and directing the legend that is Meryl Streep. You are going to find out all about that. So cool.
So Giles, the countdown continues. The Dare is out in 2 weeks on the 5th of October. How excited are you?
Oh my gosh!
It's the movie that started this podcast.
It absolutely is, and it's out in the UK in 2 weeks' time. This is where the world ends. This is where it all stops, and I just go, I don't need to do this anymore. I've succeeded in my mission of these last 3 years, delivering this podcast for you. And finally, the movie I started talking about when I started this is out in 2 weeks. Thank you, Robbie, for bringing it up. I'm surprised. I didn't ask you to bring it up. It's so
in
nice.
no way was I pressured to bring this up. No.
To bring it up in your own way.
But serious, I'm excited to see it. You know, it's like the Saw film for a new generation. It's got Richard Brake in it, and I'm excited because I haven't actually seen this yet, so it's going to be good.
You haven't. I'm not able to have a premiere, though, because of COVID, 6 people in a room rules, which is obviously massively disappointing for S Club 7 and anyone else with 7. The movie 7 is a bit fucked. What else?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure... How many members of Steps were there? Was there?
5.
Okay, right. No, they're safe. They're safe.
Claire, Faye, Lisa.
Wow.
And the other one.
That's good knowledge.
Well, actually, I've written them into a screenplay.
Poor guy, never gets a mention.
He doesn't, poor guy.
They were basically like trying to be ABBA, but for the dance generation. Is that right? Steps.
They're fantastic. Yeah. I think they're really cool. He's called Lee, by the way, and he's great.
They are Lee. How could we forget Lee?
Of course, it's Lee. Steps are still touring. Well, they're obviously not right now, but they're around. They're cool. Legends, all of them. I'll never hear a bad word said about Steps. Who else?
We're struggling here. Tweet us if you can come up with more. Oh dear, this is like a terrible radio segment. And also, you're producing another movie, Giles, aren't you? In a few weeks. Repeat?
I am, Robbie. It's called Repeat. Richard Miller is co-directing with Grant Archer. Myself and Lucinda Rose Tucker are producing, and we start filming in 2 weeks. So do go support the Twitter page at Repeat the Movie. Go onto Twitter and do support and do follow. Super, super exciting. Yes, starts filming in 2 weeks. COVID regulations, COVID security, COVID everything. Protecting us from COVID, obviously, all over it. So yeah, that starts in 2 weeks. The Dare is out in 2 weeks. But hey, busy time, right?
Very exciting.
Very exciting. So, as I said at the start of the show, this episode is sponsored by Screencraft. Now listen, filmmakers out there, do you want your voice to be heard in Hollywood, but you're not sure where to start? Well, of course you do. Well, luckily for you, We Screenplay's Diverse Voices Screenwriting Competition is now accepting submissions. It is one of the most effective talent discovery screenwriting labs in the industry. And it strives to encourage stories from often underrepresented perspectives in Hollywood, including writers of colour, women writers, writers with disabilities, writers over 40, writers in the LGBTQ plus community, and more. And the best part is that every single entrant to the competition will get a free page of written feedback on their script. So screenwriters, this is for you, because you're going to get a free page of written feedback back for you on your script. That's right, win or lose, your script will get honest, professional notes on your screenplay. And if you're one of the grand prize winners, you'll be offered a flight to Los Angeles for a Diverse Voices 4-day screenwriting lab. This competition is open for features, TV pilots and shorts, and the regular deadline ends today, September the 15th. Yes, you heard me say that right. Today, Tuesday. But if you miss that deadline or you're listening to this in the future, don't panic. The last and final deadline to enter the We Screenplay Diverse Voices Screenwriting Competition is October the 15th. Panic over. So, get your submissions in and make your voice heard. Learn more at wescreenplay.com/diverse-voices. Thank you, Screencraft, for sponsoring this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast.
Well, we better get to the episode, right, Giles?
We better had.
Don't want to keep the fine audience waiting.
No, they're not waiting. They love this bit.
Absolutely.
This is obviously their favourite bit. So with this episode, we jump right in talking about Rock, Sarah's fantastic new feature, which is out this Friday. So, why don't we treat you to a little teaser of the film? Enjoy the podcast, enjoy this little teaser, and enjoy, generally.
Yo, Samara! I'ma get my own rap and keep
Are y'all seeing this? I'm gonna be the new Picasso.
These are your clients?
Yes, you
Yeah, I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Put your pesky hands back and pay the money. How's your mum doing?
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm not here right now, so if you'd like to leave a message.
Did the right thing by calling us, yeah, that's...
Come on, let's go.
Surely I did not go through this for nothing. I think you should tell someone about your mum. It's just you and Emmanuel.
He wouldn't understand.
What's the problem? Talk to me.
I don't
get
need you
it.
to worry for me.
You're nothing, such a beautiful world.
You have to leave now. Get out. Get out.
'Cause nothing can be loved into something. There's got to be a way to sort all this. You just can't keep going on by yourself. Now we move forward. I've got £5.
I have 20.
Yeah, I see the queen. The queen's shining.
Rocks, man. Quite a work day.
Welcome to the future.
Wait, where's your ticket?
Close your eyes. Think of everything that is happy. And stop thinking about all your worries.
We're coming with you.
I want chicken wings today. I'm actually sick of time. How you guys wanting chicken? Like, I'm so sick.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.
Nice to meet you. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
I'm all right.
How's the buzz been from the film then, from your side? So you had the screening the other night and you did an online talk as well. How's it going?
Yeah, we've been doing well. It's all been, going on for months because we started last year before lockdown. We went to the Toronto and London Film Festival and then prepared for an April release. So it's been kind of long time coming. So we're all excited that finally now we're going to get to screen in cinemas September the 18th.
It's so exciting. It's such a great film. It's so well made, so interesting. You sort of following the lives of these people. Obviously, we'll get into it in detail in a bit, but I found it fascinating. I really thought it was brilliant filmmaking, clever, and you just had an amazing cast as well, which must have just, for you, been like, oh, okay, yeah, we're all right. Yeah. That's always the worry, isn't it?
It's always the worry, yeah. As a filmmaker. But this was a kind of unusual process because it was really a collaborative project. So I was working with this team of young people and creatives, other creatives, and we were really, really holding each other's hands and making it together rather than the normal hierarchical way you make a film.
Right. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Is that because of the sort of what's happened before for you and the fact that you've done really well with your films? Was it a case of, no, look, here in this case, you can build it your way?
Yeah, I mean, it was partly that it was a film about young people, and I'm pretty far from that now. And it felt exciting to build a film with the young people rather than the other way around, us build the idea and then find the young people. So right from the outset, we got together with the creative team, Teresa Okoko and Claire Wilson were the co-writers. And then there were various other key people. I mean, Faye Ward, the producer I've worked with before, and Amina Ayab Allen, the other producer, and Anu Henrique, who was an associate director who was by my side the whole time. And as a team, then with the casting team, we found the young cast before we set about the script writing process, or before the writers wrote the script. So, but it was all kind of, an organic process that evolved because Teresa Okoko, who has got a story by credit, she'd come up with this story before, she'd been working on it before. And when she met the young people and when she was brainstorming ideas for the script, she felt like this story that she'd already conceived would really fit. So she brought it to the group and that became the narrative arc, but then they all fed into it and it evolved from there.
Amazing.
And the casting obviously was critical, like Lucy Pardee, who's cast American Honey and Fish Tank, was behind the casting.
How did you find the kids in the first place? Was it the casting director just put them all together?
Yeah, so the casting director, Lucy, and she had an associate called Jessica Straker. They went into schools. I went into schools. The writers went into schools. Other members of the creative team also did, and youth clubs, which are kind of thin on the ground these days, but we found some fantastic ones, and dance classes, and we sat in the back of them and we talked to the kids, and Lucy and Jessica did the legwork here and invited a huge amount of kids to open sessions and then to workshops, and we did improvisations and chats, and gradually the kind of group got whittled down to the people you see on screen, the young women you see on screen, who were really the ones who contributed and turned up week. I mean, there were lots of fantastic young people, but the ones you see on screen formed a natural friendship and a bond, and it just became clear it was going to be about them.
That's fascinating. I really like that. I think it's a really interesting way to work. I mean, a lot of the time, as you know, the script will be there and then you go find the cast or the money or or everything. This way you're going, no, we're going to do it organically. Now, did you know from the beginning then that you were going to do this, as in kind of money was already saying, BFI, the people behind it were saying, yeah, no problem, we'll give you this kind of seed money or development money to go and find something? Did they need certain hoops you had to jump through? Did they, because there's no big names in the movie, if you like, it was just amazing actors. Was there any kind of kickback from that at any stage?
Well, so we initially went to Film 4, who we had a bit of a relationship with from previous films, and they were very supportive of the idea, and then the BFI as well. But, they understandably took a lot of convincing because, as you say, we didn't have cast who'd acted before. When we initially set out on the process of casting, we hadn't got a script. So, but they went on that journey with us bit by bit, and we kept on feeding back and having endless conversations and showing them footage from the workshops and talking to them about the evolution. But they were really supportive, and there was a whole group of execs there who I'm really grateful to. I mean, I think we all are.
Yes.
Who worked with us on it, and credit to the producers for raising that money for us. And Wellcome Trust came in too, because they were doing a focus on mental health and teenagers, and so that kind of fed into it as well.
That's so fascinating. I really like that. I really like that way of working. I think it's because then you could create something around the strengths of the actors, the young kids, and the strength of the story. And what is this story about?
Yeah.
What we always love to do on this podcast is sort of find out your journey, why you started, and to help other filmmakers who are listening. So we'll come back to Rox in a bit. So let's jump back, if you don't mind, Sarah, and talk about your journey into filmmaking. Because from what I can gather, you started at the BBC doing documentaries, and then you went to the National Film School. So you'd already started in this world of filmmaking, and then you went back to film school. Do you want to tell us your reasons why? What happened there?
Well, I loved making documentaries. I kind of always been a people watcher, always fascinated with political issues actually, and sort of wanted to make documentaries with this idealistic world that I could change the world, and started working on them and had a really, really great time, and travelled the world and learnt a lot. It was kind of a school in a way. But I also was having ideas for fiction films and really excited about cinema and the idea of exploring fiction, but felt very nervous about throwing my hat into the ring and saying that's what I wanted to do. But the National Film School was a place that I'd kind of latched on to as the the sort of mecca of that. And so I then applied, and I actually almost applied to do documentary, thinking I'll become more of a sort of focused documentary maker and explore my own subjects there. But then I switched it and did drama, and it was kind of the best decision, because the minute I got there and started making short films and met, other peer group people who could work with me on the films, I realised it was what I really wanted to do, and I just loved it.
But you can definitely see that in your work with the sort of observational quality of the sort of people watching.
Yeah. And Rox was great for that, because there was kind of freedom that we worked in this very collaborative way. And so that actually was oddly more akin to documentary in some ways, because there was such freedom on set, and we were shooting everything and we were adapting and sort of light on our feet and, working around what was happening.
The kids were slightly improvisational as well. I know we've jumped back to Rox again, but that's so cool. And I really like that you kind of could go anywhere, it felt any minute. It was quite dangerous, but fun and playful. And you felt that the camera could just find someone who's doing something different. The whole food fight, all that kind of stuff was just so refreshing and interesting. Was that always a choice to sort of just find things within your direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I worked with a camera woman called Helene Louvart and Rachel Clark as a kind of duo. I mean, Helene was the DOP and Rachel was working with her on another camera all times. They were dancing around the cast, and we just made this decision to do it on two cameras right from the beginning, because that allowed us to not have to do endless takes and actually, the truth was, every take was different. And Maya Maffioli, the editor, dealt with 150 hours of footage, and they were never in the same positions. And, they were And then we also had iPhone footage to weave into it as well.
Of course.
And everybody was radio mic'd, often in the bigger scenes, 8 to 10 radio mics, and anybody could speak at any time, and they were all overlapping. And so it was, it wasn't like your normal, more controlled shoot. It didn't have any of those restrictions.
So it's a really kind of benefiting from the modern advances of digital filmmaking, but also giving you that freedom to sort of almost forget about those tools and, forget about the fact everyone's mic'd up and there's several cameras going, but just sort of have all of that stuff if you need it. But it's ultimately, to give the actors the freedom to do what they want.
We couldn't have done it without digital cameras. I mean, it would have cost a complete fortune because we rolled from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. So that was very releasing, yeah.
I can imagine. How did you work that then with the DP to sort of, because you've got to light both sides in a way, you've almost got to make sure you're not in each other's coverage. Was that just a case of just kind of play, especially if, like you say, the actors were doing different things every time or slightly different?
Yeah, I mean, we were all kind of hiding underneath tables and in cupboards more than, usual. And we, I had a handheld monitor and was right in there, lying under, the sofa sometimes, all sorts of weird positions and dodging each other. There was a lot of falling over each other. It was quite complicated. But so we, and took lots of talking through takes, like, oh, look over there. What are you doing? And asking questions to the actors mid-take to sort of prompt other ideas and different moves and stuff. And then going back to the creative team, the writers were there a lot, and Anu Henrique, this associate, and the producers, and chatting through what worked, what didn't, what should we try next, what was hitting the story beats, what wasn't, how could we adjust it. And the cast themselves feeding back quite brutally often. I've told this story before, but co-star Ali, who plays Samaya, the best friend, came up to me one day and went, the way this scene is working is it's just dead, Sarah, it's dead, So we started again and reshot it in a whole different way to give it more life. And, she was right. So they all felt very free, very to
part of it. That's amazing. Yeah, I like that. I love that collaboration with the actors, and they can feel it, not only in their own performance, but in just everything else that's around and that's going on. And if there's something not right, and it's great that you gave them the confidence and the freedom to do that and say, it's okay. It's okay to ask these questions and feel it's not right. Wow. Amazing. Because a lot of people wouldn't have done that. I said, no, I need you to get this right. So what a wonderful environment.
But they also knew they were more like little sisters to us big sisters by then, because we'd all worked as this team through these workshops. So I think they felt they really knew us. And also the camera crew themselves, or the team behind the camera, were young and mostly female, and some of them were from the same communities as the girls. So it wasn't like a sort of scary environment where, so I think they felt quite at home in the world of it.
I bet. And you mentioned there about the female sort of element, and you've mentioned a few times about having female camera people around you as well, or female DOP. In this sense, is that something that you felt from the beginning of wanting to become a filmmaker, was having that voice, having the female voice for one, but also making sure there was enough crew members that were around that were female as well?
Well, on this film, Rocks, we had more than I've ever had before, and really deliberately went out to work with women because it made such sense for the story, and we felt like these first time young actors, all women, we wanted them to be surrounded by people who could contribute to the story, and so it made sense. I mean, I've worked with a lot of very good men in the past, and I'm sure I will again, and so, but I have always been drawn to stories around women. I mean, it sort of just comes very naturally, to be honest, with sort of stories that I haven't seen, or the stories of people who's, like the first film, Brick Lane, which, was about a community I was fascinated by and hadn't seen films around them. And so it's just sort of, it's been a really what I've been drawn to. It must be in my DNA. It hasn't always been a very conscious decision.
Do you have any female directors or female inspirations that for you would help, and that also some other young filmmakers out there might go, oh, I'll look at them?
Well, definitely. I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't come from a very filmy environment, and in my teens, I was mainly seeing sort of big American Hollywood. I mean, I was seeing all the Tom Cruise films, and I was, I don't think I saw a single art house film until I got into my 20s. And I also didn't realise there was the role of director. I just didn't think about it. And it was when I started seeing British films that were more sort of authored and had a vision, and it began with male directors, like I saw, Mike Lee's work and Terence Davies and Stephen Frears and Ken Loach. And then I discovered that there were women, I saw some Jane Campion's work and Mira Nair and, Sally Potter. And so that was hugely exciting. I thought, God, women can do this. And it was that case of you have to see it to be it. I just didn't know it was possible. But then I actually genuinely can say that some of my favourite films just do happen to be directed by women. And there are some great British women directors at the moment. I mean, there's Lynn Ramsey, who was a couple of years above me at film school. There's Andrea Arnold. There's Chloe Bernard. There's there's Carol Morley. There's Amara Sante. There's some fantastic women around here, as well as some amazing, inspiring European female filmmakers. France seems to have a good batch, and America's got lots. So, and I always follow their work avidly, and just got sort of excited every time there's a new film out by a woman.
That's so great. Which again, they're all female-led, your movies so far, pretty much, as far as I can tell. It was a TV movie. I mean, it's called This Little Life.
Yes.
Though it seems like a feature film to me, because the cast is incredible you had in there.
Yeah.
But do you include it as like part of your feature filmography, if you like?
I do, actually, but it's hard because it's not very available to see, because it was sort of pre DVDs, and so it's hard to access, which is the only reason I end up talking about it less. But for me, it was a real baptism by fire. That I'd come out of film school, I'd made I think 9 shorts in total, and the BBC were making that project, and there was a lot of freedom as a filmmaker. It's a Dennis Potter Award, and it was written by a brilliant woman called Rosemary Kay, and it was based on her experience of losing a baby, and she'd written a book first, and then she adapted it into a screenplay. With the help of this wonderful script editor, Howard Schuman. And they wove it into this screenplay. And then, there I was directing my first ever full-length film. And it was a 6-week shoot in Manchester. And I literally had never done anything beyond 5 days or 6 days. So it was a big sort of step.
Yeah. Wow.
I learned a lot, and Peter Mullen was in it, and David Morrissey and Kate Ashfield. So it was great. It was a great team, and really, really, I learned a lot. I look back and think, my goodness, I knew so little before I did that.
But you were BAFTA nominated. You won a BAFTA for this one.
I did, for that one, which was.
I love it. You've said, the one we don't talk about. I just won a BAFTA for it. It's great. It's great. But but what?
Long time ago, though.
Yeah, sure. Do you remember your first day on set? Can you remember the first thing you shot?
I so remember, because I was talking to David Morrissey about what he was going to do in the scene, and then the first AD went quiet on set, and I went, oops, we better be quiet, and he went, no, he's creating quiet, Sarah, so you can talk to me. And I was like, oh. and that was, so, but we didn't, I was working with this DP who I married at that point, David Katz-Nelson, and it was both of our first films in a professional environment, so we were both learning on the job. So, it was a little bit scary. And then I remember the lights suddenly went out at the end of the day, and they said, well, the day's over. And I was like, oh, we can't just carry on, because short films, you go until 3 a.m. with your mates and give them a beer and then they'll carry on. But no, it wasn't like that. So, yeah.
That's great. How did it come about in the first place? So obviously you made all these shorts. You're doing really well, but still it's a massive step up to be making a movie with Peter Mullan, and David Morrissey. It's a big deal, Kate Ashfield. So, how did it come about?
So I came out of this 3 years of film school, and I was 30 by then. And, I'd done the documentaries before. I'd done a year in Edinburgh making shorts. I'd sent them to lots of festivals. And my graduation film from the National Film and Television School, which was a film called Losing Touch, went to lots of international festivals, and it went to Telluride, which was a great experience, and other festivals, all in London and stuff. And on the basis of that, I got picked up by an agent in London, Casarotto, a woman called Jodie Shields, and that I hadn't realised how important and vital that is, because they're your friend, and also they have access to people to meet, and so suddenly I was having meetings with people like the BBC and Channel 4 about projects. But then I just got lucky, because a director dropped off the film, This Little Life. And so suddenly they had a vacancy. I mean, there wasn't a sort of full script yet. It was early days, and so they just had a meeting with me. So they came to me, the BBC, which was, brilliant. And I just snapped up that opportunity, which could have not come my way. I mean, I was very much taking the approach that I had to go for everything. I mean, I was applying to every competition. I was going to every meeting, getting lots of no's at that point. I mean, it definitely wasn't easy. But, and then, I spent another kind of year and a half developing it with the writer and trying to get everything in place and trying to find the cast. And so, it was a long process, but it was a real opportunity.
Totally. Looking back now, what could you tell your younger self that you might sort of advise to your younger self now?
Yeah, I mean, it's always scary going back because you think, God, if I'd known how hard it was, maybe I wouldn't have gone for that. I mean, I'm glad I've done everything I've done, and it's always been worth it in the end. But you have to go in. It's a bit like having children. You have to go in sort of thinking it's going to be wonderful, and then because if you really knew everything you were going to have to do, but it's always a ride, and there's lots of ups and downs. But it is worth it. I mean, I think I've always been someone who's worked very hard and tried to never leave any stone unturned and explore everything. And maybe sometimes overworked and put myself through the mill a bit too much, But I do think on the whole, you do have to work pretty hard actually in directing.
You really do.
Yeah, you do, don't you? I mean, you know about it, but it's hard work, isn't it?
So many questions, so many answers you need to get right. And then it's just like, oh my gosh. That's why prep work is so important, right? So
important, isn't it?
Yeah. How much do you do? Would you, especially back then, has it changed from now? Is it storyboards now? What obviously on Rocks, it's probably very difficult to do any storyboards at all, but how has it changed your process, your development as a director, do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, it sort of changes. It caters to each project, I think. So, I may, each project has been so different and required such different prep. And I'm very into doing research. So I know a lot about the subject. I know a lot about the world. I sort of steep myself in that. And then I also do like to do a lot of looking at sort of visual ideas. I get excited by looking at photography, excited by looking at paintings, taking images. I do little thumbnail sketches quite often just to get myself inside a scene. I have officially sort of formally storyboarded certain sequences, like on This Little Life there was stuff around a baby and we needed to build an animatronic little baby, and so that was very particular and we had to storyboard some of those sequences. On Suffragette there were some action sequences which we storyboarded with a great storyboard artist. So I've sort of done different ways of for each project. On Rocks it was more a case with Helen Levat of talking through the emotions of the scene. And then she does this process, which actually was really helpful, of just really talking about where they might be and where the camera might be. I mean, obviously you change it a lot, but it sort of focuses your mind on what the essence of the scene is, even if you let it go when you get there. You've got something and you've at least focused on each scene before, So that took ages of sitting in rooms, talking through each scene from that point of view, which I did find useful.
Yes. That's great. Yeah, really good. It's so fascinating, isn't it?
Inspiration can come from anywhere, kind of. And I know Lynn Ramsey, when she was making You Were Never Really Here, she was looking at these kind of obscure French, photographs from the 1960s of crime scenes and things like that. These like very blurry black and white stuff. So I think, it could just be, as you say, it could be anything, like an image or any sort of piece of art or something like that then sparks your thought process. And
so much. And she's such a visual director. I love the way she kind of constructs images. I just think it's beautiful. It reminds me of on Suffragette, the designer Alice Normington found this image of a flower, and it was a kind of faded flower, and it was sort of dying at the edges, so it had some reds and purples, and it looked a bit the colour of bruises. And that became our colour palette, because these women were so beaten up and they were bruised that sort of slightly faded colour palette became our colour palette for the film, which was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the colour in Suffragette is amazing. That sort of faded. There's so many kind of great sort of grey tones, like in the washroom and on the streets and stuff. And that purple, obviously, which is so important to the
Yeah, to
characters
the
in the
movement.
film.
Yeah.
So that definitely came across really well, I thought.
Yeah, that was sort of Super 16 and Edu Grau being very influenced by Saul Leiter and, so, but also felt right for the period. And the costume designer, Jane, was sourcing clothes for Suffragette that were real stock that women would have worn then, and they were all these tiny little women. So they were the actual clothes that those women wore, and there was something about that was really great,
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it? So going off the back of this life, BAFTA comes your way. Did that open a lot of doors for you? Because, Bricks was your next film.
Brick Lane,
Brick Lane.
Yeah. Rocks, I know. Lots of people have made that.
Yeah, Brick Lane with that. I mean, what was it an easy transition? Was there a lot of other things floating around at that point? Because there's a lot of filmmakers who listen to this who have made a movie or are about to, and they want to know what happens next. Yeah. What's that step? How do you actually get the next movie going? What was it like for you?
I mean, I'm sure you know about this as well as I do, but the second film, there's always it can be scary, and apparently statistically, a lot of women don't go on to make the second film.
100%. Yeah, I think it was 77% didn't go on to make another film. It might even be higher.
Really?
Yeah.
What, of women or just general people?
Women. I think women was around that.
Really?
Men was like 80. Men was 83. It was higher because there was more men.
Oh, I see. There were
movies.
more men. Yeah.
But the likelihood is a man would go on to make a second movie rather than a woman.
Right.
That just seemed to be the way. But men were making more films than women. But yeah, the likelihood of anyone making a second film is so small. It's really hard. It's almost like you make one because everyone gives you a chance, and the second one they go, well, I'm not sure now. Everyone wants bigger names. Or
I think you become very sort of self-conscious, because also, I mean, making the first film, you're at festivals, seeing whether people are queuing for it or not, seeing reviews. Suddenly you lose that innocence, don't you? And you also know what it's about and how hard it is. And in some ways, the industry, can be excited about your second film, but there's always a sort of element of gambling on the first film. And it's like, ooh, excited. But there were things floating around. After This Little Life, I went and had a baby. So that slowed me down a bit.
That was your next film, your next project?
That was my next project, yeah. Although it didn't sort of stop after 4 months, it carried on. She's still around. And so that was, that took a while. And then I explored some ideas that sort of, I circled various things as you do, and you realise, as you direct over the years, that quite a lot of the stuff you develop for one reason or another doesn't get made, sometimes because it's just not right or whatever. And then Brick Lane actually came along. I'd read the book and loved it at the time, where everybody was Monica Ali's best-selling book at that point, and everybody was on the tube reading it. And then Tessa Ross, who was just brilliant head of Film 4 at that time, for a long time, had the script of it, and Alison Owen was the production company with Faye Ward, and they came to me, and I read it, and it seemed like a daunting, terrifying prospect, but again, I was really excited by it. So I joined up with them, and then again Abby Morgan joined and wrote the script, and then it all evolved from there. So yeah, again, it was a whole nother journey of learning.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Yes, and was that you pushing as well? Because I know for me as a filmmaker, and Robbie as well, is I'm always finding my own work. It's very rare people come to me. It's me pushing or finding a project and me taking it to a producer or finding cast. Was it the same for you as well? Was it always like that?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of depends, because sometimes people come to me and sometimes I go to them, and but I'm definitely doing a lot of tap dancing. So yeah, to sort of say, yeah, I love this, I would love to do it, this is the way I could do it, this is my pitch, this is the images, these are the cast, so yes, there is a lot of hustle.
There's a lot of hustle. Okay, so Brick Lane is about to go ahead. Do you approach it in a different way as a filmmaker now? And like you say, it's your second film. It's a little bit frightening because now there's expectation. You're a BAFTA winner. How did you approach it differently?
So again, it was because it had such different requirements. So, I steeped myself in East London and the world of the Bangladeshi community. Again, there was couple of brilliant associate directors on that. One who, Sangeeta Datta, and one Rahul Amin, who worked, who knew those communities. And then we also went to India and met lots of cast, and Bangladesh, and met lots of potential cast, because it felt like, really it would work to bring someone over here, because it was about someone coming over here, and that was exciting. And so Tanisha Chastity and Satish Kushak, who play the couple in the centre of it, both came from India. And although Tanisha had a sort of connection with Bangladesh, so that was exciting. We brought them over, and Robbie Ryan shot it, who's just like a credible DP, as we all know.
He's been mentioned on this podcast a few times.
I know. He just goes from strength to strength, but he's always great. Actually, I don't know that he goes. I think he's always been strong, but he's just doing so much.
The favourite was his, from those who don't know who he is his sort of massive one recently, American Honey. He's one of those DPs. He's great. He's great.
That was exciting. And then we built a set, which I hadn't done before. I'd never worked on a proper set build. The designer Simon built that in a studio, so I learned a lot about that, so each film sort of teaches you,
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. And it's amazing to open your sort of eyes to that and allow it as well to sort of go, okay, what can I take from this and move forward? Because that's what you've got to think, isn't it, as a filmmaker, to move forward. It's the next project. You obviously care about the one you're doing, but you're constantly thinking about how I can get better and how I can improve.
Exactly.
Because that's what you want. Do you like working with actors? I feel that you do.
I really do. And I didn't know that till I started working with professional actors, and I really enjoyed it. And they bring so much, and I sort of learnt through trial and error how to work well with actors. I went to a lot of acting classes myself, just to put, even though I'm a rubbish actor, but just to put myself in that position.
Good.
And realise what's helpful and what's not helpful. And no, I've had a really, really good time, and I've worked with some great actors. But then I also worked with this cast of first-time actors on this, and that was a totally different process. I mean, couldn't have been more different, but equally exciting and creatively energising. And as I said, they challenged me in different ways. So,
absolutely. But by this point, with Rocks, you're talking about there with the newcomers, is the fact that you had worked with huge actors by that point, huge. It's we'll come to that in a second, but I think that therefore gives you some sort of confidence to go, okay, well, if I can direct Meryl Streep in a way, I can probably, you see how I get on with these first timer kids, but at least you can have that confidence to say, well, actually, I have directed a couple of Oscar winners. You've got that in your pocket. You don't have to boast about it, but at least you've got that to say, I can handle this. I think I'm all right.
So I'd been wanting to do a film about the suffragettes for years and years, because I'd sort of realised that it was this, unexplored, cinematically unexplored territory of these women who, fought for the vote, and it just hadn't been. I mean, we'd seen, Mary Poppins, but we hadn't seen real versions of it.
Votes for women,
Votes for women. And there'd been a 70s TV series which was really impressive, called Shoulder to Shoulder, but that was a long time ago, and so it felt like a good time. And actually, there were a few really interesting people circling it too. So we were just lucky that we got there, and it took a long time. Abby Morgan was on it; she waded through such a lot of research and found the stories, and we were really interested in focusing on the working women, whose story is even less known, and how they were really the foot soldiers of the movement and sacrificed so much for it. So we focused on them, and then we were casting, as you mentioned, really established actors. So that was a whole new. I mean, I'd worked with some great actors before, but just going for that level of cast was a whole new experience as well.
How did that work then? So Fiona Weir was your casting director. How did it, from your side, was it dependent on cast this time? Was it kind of a bit like, well, look, you get a Meryl Streep type, and then we can move forward? Or was it a mixture of kind of, is it one of those that you kind of like, well, look, we want to make this movie. let's piecemeal it together. Talk us through if you can.
So Fiona is where, as you say, was casting director, and she's like, knows everybody and had great ideas. And it was partly about building an ensemble that would work. So it's so much about that, isn't it? You want to find your key, your protagonist, which in this case was Carey Mulligan playing Maud, and then we wanted to build the group of women around her so that they felt like they formed a natural group, and they were all very different kinds of women, which they were in the story. It was kind of going to help make the movie get made, definitely. Having that level of cast, but we were also trying to get the right people for the right roles, so it was a kind of balancing act of who feels right, and also who will bring people to the cinema to watch this. So, but we were very excited by the women we got, Anne-Marie Duff and Helena Bonham Carter and Meryl Streep and Romola Garai, and
And was it a case where you sometimes had to try and contact them to almost like giving the material as a good excuse for them to get on board, like sort of I don't know, finding actors that would be interested because it's a film about the suffragette movement in a way, and that being a great reason to get people.
I definitely think that the actors were attracted by the material, and this, Abby had written a really strong script, and they were attracted by that, and the fact that it was an untold story, and they were meaty roles for women, and that was exciting. And a lot of them, really, really focused. I mean, Meryl Streep has done a lot to campaign for women over the years, and so it all made sense for them. Yeah. And Helena Bonham Carter actually related really weirdly to Asquith, who was the nemesis of the suffragettes. So her grandmother was Asquith's daughter, so she had this whole other history, which made her fascinating.
Duty bound to
she did
to play the part. Yeah, that's fantastic, and it's really great how, as you say, it is the sort of foot soldiers of the movement almost, and you only really see Meryl Streep sort of in the fact that they're sort of seeing her in glimpses like a celebrity, but it's about this sort of growing feeling and sense of community in an underground movement that's really really interesting. And then also obviously you having to cast some men as well, and people like Ben Whishaw, who probably you're having to find male actors who don't mind necessarily understanding that it's not their movie, and they need to take a back seat almost to let like Carey
which
and the
they're
others
very
shine.
Which they're very unused to, and there was so it turned out to be much harder to cast the men than the women. But I if I went back, I would definitely Ben Whishaw and Brendan Gleeson were right for those roles, and they're such they're such great actors to work with. I mean, all of the actors in it were so different, and I took a different approach with each of them, because some of them like to talk a lot about what's going on in their scene, and some of them like to try things out and do it very instinctively. And so everybody sort of was very, very different, but they were all really experienced and really knew how to do it and could do it over and over again without any problems. And so it was a kind of delight. I was learning a lot from them.
How does it feel? How does it feel then to have that bigger cast, and sort of go, okay, I'm now directing Meryl Streep today. Was there any of that kind of nervousness? I know I would be. I'd be literally like, okay, I think I've got this, but at the same time, I'm slightly wary. How is it for you?
I think that all of us, including Carey Mulligan and Helena and Anne-Marie and Romola, we were all a bit starstruck by Meryl. And, she came in, and as you say, we wanted her to have that effect a bit of the celebrity who they didn't often have access to. Because she did sort of occupy that position, Emmeline Pankhurst. She had her picture on mugs, and so she was like a sort of, celebrity of the day. But when the first time we worked with her on set, there were lots of paparazzi around, so we couldn't do the rehearsal in the environment, so we had to all cram into her trailer. So it was like sort of going on a camping holiday. Suddenly we were all sitting on the floor rehearsing in her little trailer, and she was eating scrambled eggs, and we were having tea and chatting through it. And so it all suddenly seemed very normal, but of course it wasn't.
Yeah, but I like the fact that it became normal, and then it wasn't. After the first initial, was then it fine to flow and work through it?
Yeah, no, she's a really wonderful, generous woman, and she knows what she's doing, and she knows how to work with she's worked with so many directors, so you don't need to do very much, and then she was also great on the campaign trail because she was just very committed. She's just a really committed woman.
Yeah, and which is also important, isn't it? And that's why I never really understand why directors fall out with their cast or they get so angry. You're like, you need them. I mean, they'll just go, well, I'm not doing it then. I'm not doing your press for your terrible film or whatever it is that they feel like they've got to promote now, because if you fall out, the film could be a nightmare. So I've never really understood that. But it's that fine balance, isn't it, with actors, is they're not your best friends, but because you might know them really well, but you're also leading the ship. How do you deal with that hierarchy and knowing you've got a lead, but at the same time you've also got other huge leaders around you?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of always try to flatten the hierarchy a bit, actually, because I sort of feel uncomfortable about that position anyway, and I feel like you are in a conversation with them. I mean, ultimately, someone's got to make some decisions here and there, but I always try things out. I always try to explore any ideas that anybody has. Often they're better than anything I could have come up with. I always want to see what they've offering first before doing any work with them on it, and usually I do really genuinely feel a sense of friendship with them and enjoy that sense of friendship. I mean, sometimes sort of a bit of creative tension here and there, but I sort of find that works. You want to create a kind of relaxed environment where you all can say what you feel and you can be around each other comfortably.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds like you do it really well. How great. And you work with a new DP on this one as well, right?
On Suffragette.
Yeah, on Suffragette.
Yeah, I mean, I did talk to Robbie about it. He was going off to shoot a Western at the time, so it couldn't have been more different. But Edu Grau, who had just shot something with someone I knew in the UK, and they were talking about him. And
he was, because he did A Single Man, didn't he?
He did A Single Man, yes. And he was great for it. He's very sort of strong personality and had lots of really, really great ideas and works, fast. And we had 2 cameras on that, which I hadn't done before. And that was helpful, actually. And we wanted to have this quite sort of documentary, slightly documentary camera, not entirely, but, we were tracking, we were doing things, we were working with a big crew, but we still wanted to make it feel kind of like you were on the ground with those women, you were walking along those streets with those women, you weren't distanced, you weren't looking at them through a proscenium arch, you were kind of up there, up close. So we went for that feel the whole time. And then, we had these sequences with with visual effects, which again was a whole nother departure for me. He'd done a little bit of work around that, but I hadn't. And so we were working out together how to do those sequences and with the team, and the AD was vitally important as well. My goodness, we had one day when we were shooting we shut down a street in central London, and we had, period vehicles and a couple of hundred extras, and the AD was ill, and I just thought, maybe we'll manage. Maybe, we'll just muddle along. Nothing happened. Just nothing happened. And then, brilliantly, another AD who we knew came in, and he just stepped in, and suddenly it all started happening. The bus turned up, the cars went, the people went round. It was all okay. But you realise how important that is.
They're absolutely so vital. People do overlook that role, and you get a good one, and the film is on track and doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I've heard horror stories of others where you just go, yeah, well, nothing ever happened. The first city wasn't doing what they're supposed to. And you're like, oh my God, because otherwise you've got to step up and you've got to do that. And I'm kind of used to doing it, and I know first ADs have had to come and say, Giles, let me do my job, because back when I was doing shorts and promos and brand media and long form sort of bank films or whatever, you do whatever to get by. I did everything. I was always first aid in, because you do, right?
Yeah, you do.
But then you realize how important they are, because you need your brain free to work on the actors or the scene, or someone coming up saying, we've just lost this, or what color do you want, and all that kind of stuff. So you talked there about the big scenes. How do you plan your shots for a huge big, you've got 100 extras and you've got all that, because it's one of those things for me, I go, well, you could put the camera anywhere. What's your focus? Where do you like to sort of go, okay, I'll start here and work out, or, how do we...
So those were storyboarded, all those, every single kind of sequence that had a lot of people in it and a bit of action was storyboarded. And that did focus our minds and was really helpful. Obviously, even then, a lot changes at the time. Mm. I remember we shot this scene in the House of Parliament that was a riot scene. And, that one we had 3 cameras. And I remember thinking, all I have to do is watch these 3 monitors and just check that you've got that moment, that moment, that moment. Have you got that moment? It's all about moments. And as long as we've got those moments, we're okay. And just keep getting those moments. So that was the way we did it with those kind of more chaotic scenes. But yeah, some of the scenes were quite orchestrated and we were matching things that we were shooting. We did some breaking of glass on Oxford, on the central London street, and we shot some of it on the street, and then we shot some of it in a parking lot, and we were, matching footage. And so we had to be quite precise in those moments and know what we were doing, not making it up on the spot.
Totally, yeah, because you just can't. With that big action stuff, anything action, you just can't make it up on the spot. I mean, yeah, we had to do some stuff for Arthur and Merlin where we had to make it up on the spot. And you just, you can get away with stuff, but not when it's big, not when there's a lot of stuff.
It's very hard.
It's very really difficult. Yeah, amazing. And obviously Suffragette was just like a huge film, in terms of the feeling of it all, the buzz of it all, the press, it was everywhere. Everyone was talking about this film. How did that feel then for you? Now you're director of a huge movie with some massive movie stars. Was that what did that feel like?
That's exciting. I mean, I'm always someone who kind of has lots of kind of worries and focuses on things that could have been different and anything that didn't go well, and so that's part of my nature. But we did also have lots of good experiences of great audiences connecting with it and going around the world and seeing it in different environments. And I love the thing of when you go to we've had this with Rocks as well, because we went to, me and the writers went to San Sebastian Film Festival, and then you get a Spanish person coming up to you and saying how they connect with the story, and you think, oh, that's amazing that you make a film in one culture and it connects with another culture and people of different ages and different backgrounds. So I think there's something very thrilling about that. So it was great to get the film out into the world. And then there was lots of school discussion around it, and so young people, and I talked to a lot of young people about what it is to be a young woman growing up now, which partly, led to a conversation about, shall we make a film about young people, which was Rocks.
That's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, let's finish it then talking about Rocks. I'll describe it. Basically, it's a teenage girl who suddenly finds herself struggling to take care of herself and her younger brother after her mother disappears. It's just, the concept's great. It's just really cool, really nice idea, and fun of heart and soul. Like I say, it's again another female story. After Suffragette and doing a bit of, Transparent, did it come out of that? Was other things bubbling around at the time, but you felt like this was the one you wanted to do?
Yeah, there were other things bubbling around, but I had a teenage daughter. I was working with Faye, and we were talking about what to do next. There were these really exciting writers like Teresa Rococo and Claire Wilson. There were all these creative people out there, and I just thought it would be so, we all thought actually it kind of evolved out of the group, to be honest. It would be great to do something around young people that felt really true to them, that gave, put them center stage, that was made with them, that wasn't a kind of, I have to say I'm a huge fan of anything nostalgic looking back, and I love films like Lady Bird, but we wanted to make something that was about now, was about women growing up right this minute and how it was for them. And we couldn't, we could only do that with them, because how do we know? We wanted to get inside the teenage gaze and see the world through their eyes, which was the biggest learning process, of course, of any of I've been on.
Totally. Yeah, well, they just talk so differently to we do. And there's certain things in there, like Snapchat's mentioned, but kids aren't, it's like Snapchat's almost moved on now.
I know, it's so fast.
How they quickly developed, and you're like, how did you keep up with that? And the talk and the banter and how they related to each other.
Yeah.
That must have been so fascinating.
Well, you know, I was around a lot of, a lot of the crew were in their 20s. So I was really like the old woman on the set who was like, what did you say? What are you talking about? But I now got my head around it. You know, I know a lot more about the way they operate.
Yeah, well, especially having a teenage daughter as well. I suppose you could at least relate in some way. What does this word mean? They were saying this today.
Yeah.
Mom. Yeah, that's amazing. And like I say, these cast, are they wanting to carry on doing acting? Some of them, I imagine.
Yeah, some of them are actually. I mean, Bookie, who plays Rox, the lead, is now at RADA Youth doing.
Is she?
Yeah, and she's wanting to go on. And co-star Ali, who plays her best friend, Samaya, also wants to go on, and a few of the others. Ruby Stokes, who plays Agnes, is already doing some work. So she was one of the few, like Shania, who plays Rocher. They both had some acting experience, but Shania's was mainly through the Nottingham TV workshop. So they all came from different paths, but most of them were new actors, and they do want to go on. But we wanted to create an environment where even if they didn't want to act, they could see camera people, they could see producers, they could be inspired to think maybe they could work in different capacities in film.
Totally. And see females doing that as well.
Yeah.
You know? That's inspiring, isn't it? To see them to go, oh, hang on.
Yeah.
You know, there's a woman directing this. This is not the norm, in that sense of what people feel is the norm of filmmaking. And yeah, it's great that curve is changing, and it's wonderful that you made this film. Sharon D. Clark's in there as well, who was a fantastic West End performer. So it was a real joy to see her go. Yeah,
I saw her in Death of the Salesman. She's just so fantastic.
Yeah,
so Sarah Niles was another one, another adult actor who's great. She plays the teacher in it. Yeah, so we had a few more experienced actors in there.
Yeah, because was there a few other roles, like there's a couple of the teacher roles and a couple of the sort of neighbour roles type thing. Were they also sort of newcomers, if you like?
A lot of the teachers were real teachers.
Oh, is that what it was?
So one of the teachers was actually one of the teachers at Co-Star's school. So and he was actually marking her work, but what in between takes. So because what you realise is that there's such a particular, you train for life to become a teacher, and and also we were asking them to react in the moment. It's very difficult for an actor to know what to say in the moment.
Totally, or what to do, because the right thing to say, you're not allowed to do. There's so many things that when we were kids,
you wouldn't say. You
can't say those things or touch kids the way you did, not inappropriately. But you know what I mean? You can't even put your arm on the shoulder.
No, you can't.
You have to sort of do this weird, like holding your arms up like a V. This way, please.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's like shuffle them along like some sort of wave machine, which is amazing. You must have had so much fun. I mean, all your experience and stuff as well. You must have pushed into this. Was there any difficulties? Was there any problems with shooting this kind of way, 2 cameras?
Yeah, I mean, it was chaotic, and we were also working with child hours, so there are lots of rightly there are lots of restrictions around children working, so we were shooting short days and having to
which is kind of nice, right?
That's nice. Having to give them breaks, going. Lots of chaperones around, because they should be chaperoned, but and then we were like, oh, there's 3 chaperones in shot, we'll have to make them extras, because they always have to have their eye on the kid they're looking after, so they can't be
you're in an outfit again, put another one on, change your top, you're back in it again.
Today you're a traffic warden.
Exactly. And we were shooting in London, which is really exciting but also challenging. It's noisy, it's trafficky, and the girls were all really noisy. We all had hoarse voices at the end of every day, it was like being a teacher, really.
I can imagine, because they're all talking all over each other, and once kids do that, they get louder and louder until whoever speaks the loudest sometimes wins in those situations. Were you shooting during school time, or was it like summer holidays?
It was a summer holiday, so we sent them back to school in the summer holiday. So we occupied a school in East London, and we shot it over the 6 weeks of the summer. Very hot summer, actually.
Oh gosh, how amazing. It's a wonderful film. I love this movie. I think Rox is just so fresh and interesting. And then the young boy who played Bucky's brother, Manuel. Wow. I mean, I know everyone's probably going to talk about him so much, but wasn't he just a fresh find? So just delightful in his delivery and everything. So innocent and just, what's this do?
I know, he was so sweet. He was really a funny character, and Lucy Pardee and Jessica Straker found him, and he came to an audition actually with Anu, the associate director, because I couldn't be there. She did a little workshop with him where we would design this little exercise where he had to comfort his sister. And so he was comforting her for the purposes of the audition. And he said, let's try some guided meditation. You know, he was this little 7-year-old boy and it just came out of his mouth. We put that in the film and it was...
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And then him and Bookie had this really sweet relationship where they'd brother and sister. And so they'd love each other and then they'd argue and then they'd love each other on and off set. And I remember one day he didn't want to do something and she was like, come on, go on, you've got to do it. And he went, no, I'm not going to do it. And she went, who do you think you are, Denzel bloody Washington? Just get on and do it. So they had this little banter. But he's adorable and he's so clever and imaginative that he's just got this kind of running commentary going on, you know, about what he's doing and he just gets it.
And again, you mentioned right at the beginning that you would sometimes sort of feed them lines. Was that the same thing when you were sort of improvising those scenes? So say that again, but say it this way. What was the best way to work with sort of...
Yeah, so Teresa and Claire had written this kind of really wonderful, rich script that really captured their voices, their lives, their world, and had this very strong narrative arc that Teresa has sort of conceived as this love letter to her sister and to other Black young girls who have to, as she says, and I think it's so true, you know, I mean, it comes from her experience, have to be stronger than their years should require and have to be resilient. But they're also these sort of wells of joy and laughter and vulnerability. And so that was the kind of idea of it. So they had written this script, so we had all this material, but then we wanted them to be able to sort of inhabit and live in the moment and be very present. So we were deliberately saying to them, you know, let go of the don't sort of learn the lines or feel you have to stick to anything. Just come into the scene and we'll just talk you through what's going on. And we shot it all chronologically so they could sort of live it moment by moment and almost forget what you're going to do tomorrow. Don't think about what's in the scene coming up. Just think about what's now, you know. And we wanted them to almost not know what was coming, but they did know because they'd been part of workshopping and building. But so it was around that. So that was the reason to throw lines in, because it was to prompt them and to try things differently, and to sort of surprise them at the moment, or if things were slowing down, to get it going again. So it was, you know, it was about sort of injecting energy into it.
Great. I mean, wow, wonderful. And what I suppose, what kind of lessons have you learned over the time? What kind of advice could you give to filmmakers out there, especially female filmmakers starting out or wanting to get into this business? What advice do you feel that might be right or good?
Well, I think ultimately, if you really want to make films, you know, the sort of key trick, and I'm sure you both know this really well, is to just keep going, relentlessly keep going, because, you know, and not take knockbacks personally, because you just will get a lot of knockbacks. You know, things will go wrong. And one of the people I was at film school with, he said he had this kind of revelation that as a director, your job is to deal with problems. And the minute I saw it like that, it's not like, oh my God, there's a problem. It's like, yeah, there's a problem, and my job is to deal with the problem. And so then it becomes sort of less sort of scary. And so I think ultimately, you know, just keep going and see things through to the end. You know, the amount of time I sort of talk to people, and I feel this myself, you start working on a project, you think, oh, I'm not sure this is going to work, and is it right? And you could so easily stop. But you have to, I often announce things to people and say, I'm doing this, or we're doing this. So you sort of have to see it through, because you give yourselves these sort of false deadlines, and you create expectations in order to motivate the project to carry on and just keep going and battle through it. And then be true to yourself, sort of follow your instincts and listen to your inner voice. And, you know, if something doesn't feel right, listen to those niggles and sort of pursue them, and, you know, in a slightly obsessive compulsive way, go, oh, something didn't feel right, I better do something about it. I can't just let that go.
Wow, that's great.
Fantastic advice. Yeah.
So good. Rox is out on the 18th of September, right?
Yeah. Please go, because we'd love people to see it in the cinema. The collective experience of, you know,
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, please go see this movie. It's just a delight. It's one of these moments in time type movies, and you're going to love it. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Well done. You know, brilliant filmmaking.
Oh, well, thank you both. It was a collective effort. That's all I can leave you with. Yeah, find the people to work with. That's a key one, isn't it? Find the right people to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's another huge bit of advice, isn't it? You find the right people, you get the right people around you, and everything goes up a notch, doesn't it? Yeah. That's great. Can people find you like I did on Twitter? Where can people find you, Sarah Gavron?
Yeah, on Twitter. I bet I'm sort of don't do much on Facebook. I dip into it occasionally, but I am on Twitter.
Yes, and it's at Sarah Gavron, isn't it?
It is. That's exactly, I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, we'll put a link in the show notes anyway, but that's how I found Sarah, and she was very kind enough to come on and talk to us and you about her journey with some amazing advice. Thank you so much. Robbie, where can people follow you?
Just at Robbie McCain on Twitter. Where can people follow you, Giles?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, Robbie. At Giles Alderson, or you can follow the podcast on at Filmmakers Pod. Remember, we do have a Patreon now with some amazing clips and stuff that isn't in the normal podcast, so do come and join us there. And remember, if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it's your duty to send the elevator back down. You can go make your indie film. You can do it. Get out there and do it. All right, thank you so much, everyone. We will see you next Tuesday, as always. Sarah Gavron, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, both of you.
Cheers. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.